Now available in paperback and Kindle, Stop Simping in Cyberspace. Learn how to avoid predatory females like Instagram models and e-girls in their virtual con games with Stop Simping in Cyberspace. Get your copy of Stop Simping in Cyberspace in paperback and Kindle today.
Many people in the black community believe many of the media narratives regarding the late Tupac Shakur. And these media narratives often tell us that your Tupac Shakur was one of the hardest street dudes to ever grace the gangsta rap scene. However, there was never anything gangsta about your Tupac Shakur in real life. No, everything about that so-called gangsta image was manufactured by white men from Madison Avenue and Hollywood to sell black communities this image of a so-called thug. But there was nothing thug about the late Tupac Shakur, and if you were to go out here and take a critical examination of Tupac Shakur's entire life, you would find that he is nothing more than a beta male, like I talked about in my book, The Man Crisis, and he was overall one of the worst simps, like I talk about in my book, Stop Simping, Why Men Don't Need Finance to Get Romance. And your Tupac Shakur started out life as a beta male because he was raised by a single mother in a single mother household. And this boy, raised in a single mother household, never got any sort of male life skills or male survival skills. And that's why when he went to that school of the performing arts, he was basically nothing but a square dude. And this square dude who went to school with Jada Pinkett basically was the nice guy in the background for many years. And this is out of his own mouth that he said this. He was the nice guy. And as he was going on in the entertainment industry, getting roles like Bishop in the movie Juice, playing street dudes, in contrast, he was nothing more than one of these square nice guys who wasn't getting anywhere with women. And because he saw himself practically getting nowhere as related to his social life, your Tupac Shakur did what many simps go out here and do, and they become the image that they believe will get them the attention of women. So your Tupac changed himself so that he could be more appealing to women, but basically on the undertones, he was still the same simp looking to go out here and submit and defer to women, and he was not this so-called hard dude that many people thought he was presenting in the media. No, that whole image of a hard street dude he was presenting in media was basically something that was created by your Madison Avenue advertisers and Hollywood movie studios and rap record producers to sell records. So basically, your Tupac was not any sort of street dude. He was basically not some sort of thug. That was an image that was turned into a social construct, and this was all designed to indoctrinate young black children into buying into this whole idea of thug life, because what they wanted to do was keep young black children from going out here and aspiring to go out here and go to college and go out here and start businesses, because in the eyes of white supremacy, if you have young black children talking about starting businesses and building up their community, they promote that as acting white, when that's not anything white about it at all. It's all about you focusing on putting yourself first and empowering your community. And they didn't want people building on the legacies of people like Bill Cosby, who were talking about having strong black families. So they came up with this whole concept of the thug, which started out with NWA's Straight Outta Compton, and then they further promoted it with what I call their Elvis, which was Tupac Shakur. But your Tupac Shakur basically was one of these guys, again, who came from a single mother household, was all about trying to appease and please women, and he created this, and they created an image around him that they knew would be attractive to women, this bad boy. But this bad boy was nothing more than a beta male in wolf's clothing. And this beta male in wolf's clothing was used to go out here and sell the idea of being a thug to young black boys as an ideal to aspire to be like, and to sell young black girls the idea of the kind of guy who would go out here and be attractive because he doesn't follow the rules. He appears to be some sort of leader, but the irony is he's a puppet that white supremacy went out here and used to be able to prevent a generation of young black boys and young black girls from focusing on excellence and focusing on what they needed to do to take themselves to the next level. And as they created this mythology around your Tupac, and he was going out here making all of these raps like Your Dear Mama and many others, and promoting this whole thug life narrative, many people were caught up in that mythology, believing that your Tupac was some legendary thug and some legendary gangster, but all he was a legendary simp. And that's why he got caught up a lot of times with all of these different types of females. And these females were, as his life was starting to get towards the end, trying to run game to take advantage of him, because he was out here trying to go out here and get with these predatory females, but these predatory females kept flipping the game on him. And even your Jada Pinkett was trying to get with him towards the end, looking for the bag. But tragically, what happened with Tupac was he got caught up in his own hype. He believed a lot of the rhetoric that Madison Avenue and Hollywood were promoting about him, and he started to actually believe he was the thug that Madison Avenue and Hollywood created. And he was never the thug that they created. That was an image that they placed on him and projected on him. And that's what Madison Avenue and Hollywood do. They create images and stories around people with press releases, photographs, videos. And as your Tupac was participating in it, he was starting to believe his own hype. And that is one of the worst things an entertainer can do, but he did believe his own hype. And sadly, it was believing in his own hype that was one of the things that led to his end. And many people were sitting there, again, they buy into the legends that were mythology that Madison Avenue created around this man, believing that it was real, but it was not real at all. None of it is. And Tupac Shakur, the person, is nothing like the social construct that Madison Avenue and Hollywood created. No, that construct is what has young black men thinking that they need to be a thug and a gangster, and it has young black women thinking that they need to go get themselves a thug to have as a boyfriend. That what they're buying into are ideas that were created by white men, and these white men create these ideas that have you believing that this is black life, when Tupac's life was never like that to begin with. No, your Tupac was basically a square simp dude, and this square simp dude, what he did was get a Hollywood makeover, and once he got the Hollywood makeover, this nice guy then went and turned into a whoremonger male who then eventually got taken advantage of by predatory women. And it was him getting caught up in his own hype that led to his own demise, because he started to believe all of Madison Avenue's lies about being a thug to be true. But he was never a thug. He was just a pawn in white supremacy's media arms game to keep black people oppressed. Basically, they went out here and found themselves a nice corporate shill, dressed him up in some sagging pants, had him talking about thug life and being a gangster, but he was never a gangster. He was a manufactured gangster that white supremacists made. And they can easily do this because with simps are desperate to go out here and get the attention of women. And because a simp wants to get that attention of women, what they do is make themselves out to be the ideal that they think the woman wants. But ultimately, what happens is these guys, because of their simp nature that comes from that single mother household, always wind up getting caught up with predators, and then they winding up in bad situations. But nobody ever talks about that, because the people buy into this mythology that was created by your mainstream media, and because they buy into this mythology of thug life that was created not by black people but by white people, they think that this is who the real Tupac was. But no, that Tupac was a social construct by those in the white media who wanted to create this black thug so that black people would follow the black thug and not go out here and focus on competing against them in the business world and the world where they can go out here and build their own. This was all about creating a stealth weapon to go after black people so that they would not go out here and focus on actualizing their potential. No, they would stay in the ghetto trying to keep it so-called real, but the reality is being manipulated by a puppet master pulling the strings and telling black people that real is the streets, but the reality is the white supremacist wants to keep you in the streets and keep you fighting each other and keep you talking about being gangster and thug so that he can go out here and make money at your expense, selling you the guns and the butter to fight a war against each other. That is what they did with this mythology around your Tupac, who, again, basically was a simp that they used to trick black people. But you can't explain that to many black people who get caught up in the rhetoric and the hype around this man and believe much of this mythology, these social constructs and ideas that did not come from us, but it came from Madison Avenue and Hollywood, who try to tell us a beta male is a bad boy, and that a beta male who was a simp was one of the greatest thugs of all time. But what's really gangster about is not about him, it's about the guys in the corporate suits, and those guys in the corporate suits pulled the wool over a generation of black children's eyes and sold them a so-called thug who was nothing more than a teddy bear in disguise. Now, if you want to see me make more videos like this, you can donate to my Patreon, my PayPal, or my Cash App by clicking the link in the description box. And if you want to try some of my men's issues books like Stop Simpin', Why Men Don't Need Finance to Get Romance, and The Man Crisis, you can find those books on Amazon.com in paperback and Kindle format. You can also find them on Smashwords, the iBook Store, and Google Play. That's all I have to say for this video. You can comment, rate, and subscribe.
Now available in paperback and e-readers, John Haynes, Taking Care of Business. The man who rules the world breaks in a brand new partner to help him take care of business in this action-packed, all-new John Haynes series adventure. Get John Haynes, Taking Care of Business at paperback and e-readers at online booksellers everywhere.